There was a time in my life when I literally was portioning food for the month, borrowing money to make sure that I could pay rent, and still I was telling myself everything is going to work out. And eventually it did. Today I want to talk about manifestation. Yes, I know it's been talked about a lot lately, but I would like to give you my point of view. And I'm not going to talk about the delusional way of just be positive and things would work out. Kind of, but not exactly. There are at least 3 things in my life that I deeply desired, and I eventually received them. And when I look back at those, it's a clear pattern. I didn't really understand manifestation in my early 20s. I only started to get into it in my late 20s. And it started with a story that actually made me see possibility. Before we dive in, if you like this type of content, I'm talking about personal growth and a journey to self-discovery, then please like and subscribe. Also, I created an ebook about rebuilding your life from zero. So if it's something that interests you and you want to go deeper, check the link in the description. Okay, let's get into it. I remember watching an interview between Oprah and Jim Carrey, who, by the way, is my all-time hero. He told the story about how back when he was not famous yet, he wrote himself a check for $10 million rendered for acting services. He dated it for the future. And years later, he actually got this amount for Dumb and Dumber. That story really stayed with me. It stayed with me not because of this thing that you write yourself a check and it magically happens. No, it's all about what's behind it. It's the belief. It's the intentionality of it. So it took me a few years to really understand what manifestation is all about. It's about clarity, emotional alignment, and openness to opportunity. And I would like to share with you 3 experiences or moments in my life that this actually played out. They are in chronological order, and the last one is, I think, the most powerful one. So stick with me. So the first big thing that I ever remembered wanting for myself was to leave my home country. I was, in my teenage days, I was in the national team for synchronized swimming, and we traveled mainly in Europe, but also outside for competition. So it was kind of like the first glimpse of me traveling and seeing other cultures and other countries, other languages. And something within me clicked. I really saw myself connected more to that culture than the one in my home country. And that's when it sparked the idea to actually move away. That thought stayed with me ever since, for years, in the back of my head. So it was there in my conscious but also subconscious, but it was always there in a sense of it wasn't coming out or anything like that. It was just present, like it kept coming up sometimes. It was always there. Later, I met my back then partner, and I shared with him this desire of mine to leave. My partner had a German citizenship, and so he said, let's do that. And so we made a plan and we actually did it. It happened. So here's what I learned from this specific thing. Manifestation starts from an internal spark, an internal decision. I just knew deep down that I am not meant to be here. I am meant to be somewhere else. And so once I allowed myself to believe that this is possible, the logistics were just something to do, like a to-do list, and it was done. Okay, example number 2. This one is a bit more specific. So After moving away from my home country to Germany, we lived in an apartment for quite a while, quite a few years in the same apartment. And at some point I wanted to upgrade. I wanted something better. I wanted something bigger, with a kitchen, with a balcony, with a bathtub, with a separate kitchen, more light. So very specific things that we didn't have at that apartment. Now, I started to look, and I must mention that looking for an apartment, pretty much like anything here in Germany, is a full-time job. Also, at the time, my friend was living in an apartment exactly like I described, with a balcony, light, kitchen, bathtub, yada yada. And I was visiting this friend, and every time I came here, I just really liked being here because of these specific things. Anyway, I was looking and looking for an apartment, and nothing really landed for quite a while. But then my life shifted. Me and my partner, we broke up, and I had to find myself an apartment. Like, I had no other option. I had to. And then, after a month or two that we were broken up, my friend told me that he's leaving his apartment, the same apartment that I came over multiple times and liked it and loved hanging out here. And I immediately told him, I want your apartment. Please recommend me to take over the contract. And so it happened. It actually happened. And again, it wasn't magic, or maybe not. I wouldn't say, I don't know if it was luck or not, but again, this idea, this notion, this visualization was in my mind for a very long time. This desire for this specific apartment, it was there, and it just happened. Things just came together at the right time, at the right moments, one after the other. One thing led to the other, and it just happened. So I know exactly what I wanted. I was emotionally attached to this thing that I wanted. And when the opportunity to actually have it appeared, I moved fast. I didn't hesitate. Oh, now, story number 3, the most powerful of them, in my opinion. Why do I think it's the most powerful one? Because this one was very, very aware and intentional. And so 6 months ago, I became unemployed, and I just moved into this dream apartment of mine. Now, after years of being employed and working, I decided to actually enjoy some time off and enjoy my summer and travel and have some good old reflecting time and some time for myself to really reflect and think what I really want to do. So I didn't look for a job immediately. So money was tight. There were moments that I was actually portioning food for the month. I even had to borrow some money from my family because I was afraid that the unemployment money won't go into my account on time to pay rent. And so that week, I attended a webinar of an entrepreneur I'm following, and she shared a meditation for money, like money meditation manifestation. And I decided to try it because why not? What could happen? And I did it for a couple of times a week, for a couple of weeks. And of course, I didn't expect much, but I did it anyway. And so what happened? Actually, so the unemployment money I was expecting to not go into my account on time actually did land on time for rent. A couple of days later, I got 2 opportunities for gigs to make some money. Of course, I said yes to those opportunities. And then about a month later, I got a message from the unemployment agency that they made a mistake in calculating my unemployment money and that they are going to put the difference in my account that month. And that was amazing. So what comes out of all of this? I was tight on money. I barely had money for food, but I didn't panic. I just learned really how to manage my finances, actually. And I didn't panic. I just said, okay, it's going to be fine. I really tried to be positive and not just go inside the shell and just think horrible thoughts that I'm whatever. I was still taking action. I was realistic. I still tried to think clearly about how do I make this better? What do I do? What action can I take? I didn't let fear and panic lead my actions. And that instant really changed my whole perspective on mindfulness, awareness, finances, managing, and just the whole energetic perspective of what it means to manifest and how everything works in the universe. Okay, looking back at all those instances, I learned a couple of things. So what does manifestation really means? You need to be very clear about what you want and clearly see yourself in that situation, whether it's an apartment that you really like, you really need to envision it to really know what you want. Or if it's something more broad, like moving away to a different country. You have to be patient because things might not align and work out tomorrow or next week or next month. Sometimes it might take years. You must stay open to unexpected pathways that can lead you there. It's like the universe gives you signs and it shows you ways that you can make decisions, even if it feels weird, but sometimes the intuition really gives you signs of, yes, that's the one. Sometimes it could be also counterintuitive. And I think the most important thing that I believe is important in all this topic is to still be grateful for what you do have. Say thank you for your friends, for your support, for your family, for the money that you do have, for the roof above your head that you do have, because some people don't have that. So always be grateful and be content. Try to be content in where you are right now and be positive, because positive thinking attracts positive things. So it's just kind of like being Delulu, but in the right amount, Okay, I really hope this information, this perspective of mine helped you in some way. If you liked it, please hit the like button so that the algorithm likes me back. And I share more content like this almost every week, so hit the subscribe if you would like to hear more. Also, I'm curious to know, what do you think about the whole topic of manifestation? Do you practice it? Do you do it? How do you do it? Let me know in the comments. And I also had the idea to make a whole separate video about my relationship and my perspective on money, because it's a big topic. And I was thinking of doing something completely separate on that. Let me know if it's something interesting for you that you would like to hear. And then last but not least, remember that my ebook is out, Self-Discovery and Rebuilding Yourself. So if it's interesting, the link is down below. Until next time, stay dashing.